Hi everybody, I stopped the video. I leaned on the pad. I've tried and tried to disable this little laptop pad. I have a piece of metal over it now with things around it so I don't activate it, but if I lean on it, it pushes the button. And I guess, since my pointer, my cursor was last on the start-stop button for the video, so even though no matter where I go with the cursor, if I just push the button without clicking somewhere else, then it just stops. So I will click on the background. There we go. And so this is still video 44. This is video 44B. And I'll call the first part, which is probably 5 minutes. It says right here, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't know how it got in. Oh, I see. It's because I made another one too. I clicked 3 times on that little pad. I don't know, what do you call that? The touch pad? Synaptic something, whatever. Anyway, that little touchpad on the laptop, I never have been any good at using those, so I always get a mouse. And use that. And anyway, so I clicked it once and it stopped the video at 9:20. I clicked it again and it started the video, and then I clicked it 2 seconds later and it stopped the video. So it would be 3-part video, but I'm not going to publish a 2-second video. Anyway, so to continue where I left off, sorry about that. So we were talking about, first we were talking about Iran, then we were talking about, how important it is to bring heaven into people's lives, for people. So it's just think differently, that's it. All we have to do is dwell on heaven, that's all. We don't, and anything that deviates from heaven is, we can handle all those things as long as our central focus stays on heaven. So I'm new at this, so I wouldn't know what I can and can't do as far as staying heavenly. Not so much. 18% worth as of after this video is over. We will have gotten to 18% of heaven, and so that's all. So people, when we stop paying attention, when our attention is 100% focused on heaven, then we belong to heaven. That's all. And it's great. It's great. It's a great place to be because all of our dreams are fulfilled. We work on them and we wake up and are excited to fulfill our dreams each day, to bring them further and closer to the world and bring the world closer to the world that we dream of making. And so everyone has a role in that. God gave it to us before we were born, probably when He breathed the life into us. And I don't know if God knew who we would be before we were conceived. But in any case, He knows after we're conceived, I think, what role people will play in their life. And it's up to people, of course, and when people choose heaven, when people are centered on true love, then God will have a very powerful role in our lives, and we will, of course, be one with God and fulfill God's dreams for His family. So, yeah, that's wonderful. So, I remember members of the Unification Church when when I first joined, or in the 3 years that I was a full-time member, or 34 months. Then I went home. I was still a member, but I just read the newspaper and read Divine Principle. I think I had the Completed Destination Ideal Kingdom after 2000, but I left in 78. Yeah, I think February 23rd, 78, or January 23rd, 1978. I left the New Yorker hotel and flew back and lived with my mom and my stepdad for a while. Then I lived with a friend of theirs, and then I got married because I met my first wife, and she was an ex-member, and then I divorced her 4 years later, and I had a son by her, so I unfortunately left the son as well, so that was really sad. But he had some very good, her family is a very good and supportive family, her parents passed away, and now she passed away too, actually. But Stephen grew up around them and is, I think, a very responsible person. And I hope we can be friends someday again. Because I didn't make it to his wedding, and that was the last time I didn't talk. I talked, that I would have talked to him. I mean, yeah, I haven't talked to him since he got married. That was 4 years ago, or 5 years, 6 years, I don't even. Yeah. So, I pray to sometime talk again to him. The one son I had from my first marriage. So, and when we were members, and we joined, and we were thinking, wow, you know, in the future, people will wonder what it was like to live on Earth with Reverend Moon, because you know, because he's the one that brought heaven, and the world was hell before that, and you know, people will ask you as a member of the Unification Church, or if you've been around Reverend Moon, what it was like to be near him. And yeah, I just when you're in the room listening to him, it feels like he's talking to you personally. He's talking about things that relate. You know, just somehow. I think what it is the spirit world prepares us before we meet him, and then when we meet him, it aligns us with him, and when we meet him, then we feel as if he knows many things about us, and he does probably. I mean, if he's one with God, I think, yeah, that's where we want to be. You know, and people just follow him around. You know, but the problem was also that bad people followed him around too, because the devil wants to always be aware of what good people are doing and how to destroy them, and not I don't know, somehow there has to be, for some reason, the devil can't kill everyone. It's because God created the universe, and there is the provision for God to restore the universe, and Satan can't prevent that. He didn't. The devil didn't create the universe. He can attack people because man united with Lucifer, woman and man, and because woman united with Lucifer and man united with Lucifer and Eve, then it is up to us to reestablish the connection with God. So until then, the devil's causing all kinds of horrible things to go on earth. So soon, it's almost done. We're almost over. Thank God. Thank God that Reverend Moon came and was able to win the world for God again. So, yeah, what was it like? It was great. Yeah, we would look forward to, when I was living in New York, from about November, December, and part of January, at least. I'm pretty sure it was January. Anyway, for about 3 or 4 months, I lived there, and on Sundays we would go to the house in Tarrytown and listen to True Father. We call Reverend Moon True Father. Listen to him and see his wife and his children. Sometimes would sit there with him, or go to events like the church holidays. We go to the same place, but instead of being inside the garage, it was a very nicely kept garage, and it was a beautiful garage. But we'd all meet in there, like 100 people or so, and they had a little stage set up and a blackboard, and that's where we'd go and listen to him on Sundays. We'd go there for Sunday service. So Sunday service in the Unification Church is like you go there and you bow maybe 3 times. Did we bow then? I think so. Oh yeah, we just said when true parents came in, and we bowed to true parents or true father if it was true father, and there'd always be someone up in front who could speak Korean and English and would translate for father, and and would direct us to bow to true father, and then that's interesting. Hyung Jinum was just talking about. He said the bowing. He said when you live in Korea, he said it's just there's so much bowing going on. And I thought that was more in Japan. Do Korean people bow as much as Japanese people? Anyway, he said he'd get a sore back because he'd be bowing all day long. I mean, if you're among groups of people or around a lot of people and you're interacting with them, it's just like you're bowing and bowing. He said anyway. And then the Sunday service. So then we'd have a prayer. Then one of us would pray. This was before Father got there. Yeah. So we'd go there and we'd sing songs. That's it. We'd sing songs for a while, for 2 or 3 songs. And at the church center, when we were on mobile fundraising teams, or like if we were staying at a church center, not necessarily a hotel, but if we were staying at a hotel or a motel, we would in the morning when we got in the van, we'd all sing songs for who knows how many, 5 or 10 songs, on our way to dropping off people where we would be selling our whatever, or ware, our candy or flowers or granariums or whatever else, all kinds of little, what do they call those little things? I forget, it's like a little thing on a stick, a little bug made out of pipe cleaners or something like that. It had a cute little name. Anyway, yeah, we'd sell, and then mostly it was candy when I was, because you could buy candy cheap and sell it for $2 or 3 for $5. A box of butterscotch or Thin Mints or something in a small box that you could stock up with and carry. You could carry a case of it under your arm. And so we'd sing songs. But okay, so when we were in Tarrytown, we came over in a van from the Manhattan Center, from the New Yorker hotel where I was living. It was called the World Mission Center. It's owned. Reverend Moon bought it in the 70s, I think. Well, of course. It's because I was there in it. So we'd sing songs, and then Reverend Moon would come in and we'd bow, and then we'd listen to Reverend Moon talk for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. Usually I think it was about 2 hours, 3 hours. Anyway, we'd just be sitting there. It was sometimes challenging. I mean, that was not long. Some people would have to sit. I mean, and I say have to, but it's a blessing to sit with Reverend Moon. Because he's talking the whole time, and he's, and then people would, God forbid, fall asleep. But if a person was like falling asleep in the front row, Reverend Moon would like pop him on the head. I mean, he wouldn't hurt him, but he'd just wake him up. And anyway, he was extremely funny. There's a show. He was on TV once, on public network television, on Al Cap. I think it was the Al Cap. I forget what the name of the show is. Al Cap. I think his name was Al Cap. Was an interviewer, and you could watch him. He's Reverend Moon is humorous, but that was earlier. That was in the 60s, I think. And I didn't actually see him until I met him. I mean, I was in the room at a training session at Jacob House in Tarrytown. Is that Tarrytown? Where's Jacob House? Anyway, it's So that's where I first saw him. He came after we had the MFT meeting, the MFT training for 14 days, 28 days I think it was. We had lectures and singing, living together upstairs with the brothers and the sisters. Where did they live? Downstairs? Where in the heck were the sisters? There were sisters there. I don't even remember sisters being there. It wasn't all brothers, was it? That's weird. I don't remember any sisters. Wow. Anyway, they were probably there, just on the other half of the house or whatever. I do remember them cooking. They were there. I think it was mostly brothers, I think. Mostly male members. Anywho. Yeah, so then after the workshop was over, Reverend Moon came and spoke to us. Or one Sunday before it was over, before the last week or something. That was the first time I'd ever seen him. So that was pretty exciting. Yeah. And, yeah, for me it was really it's a very spiritual occurrence when you're in the same room with Reverend Moon. Yeah, and for people, anybody and everyone can experience that because he's in the spirit world, and that's where we're going. We're all going there. And there's no reason you can't experience. Matter of fact, I've experienced Reverend Moon probably 5 or 6 times in my dreams also. Not necessarily where he was talking to me personally, but I was in, it was just me and him in the dream. Yeah. So, in at least one dream that I remember right off the top of my head, the most recent one, 2 dreams maybe, in the same room, there were a few other people. One time he was like getting pulled around on a sled, it was like on highways and stuff, but there were no wheels, and the members were dragging the sled with him in it, and it was like some kind of symbolism to me. It's like that God can't use any of the conveniences that the devil created. He has to use just whatever any heavenly person can come up with. And anyway, it was just... So, I guess Reverend Moon introduced the idea that God is a God of a suffering heart, because all of his children were lost and are in pain and discord and in difficulty. So Reverend Moon pointed that out to people, to his members, that God is suffering, and that our mission is to save God. There's a prayer that Reverend Moon mentioned, that he suggested, I guess, in that book I read probably, and that is to whenever, if we think we're going to die, or maybe the last thing as we die, that's it. The last thing as we die, we should pray liberation to God, liberation to the spirit world, liberation to true parents. Not necessarily in that order, actually, true parents. God, liberation, pray for the liberation of God, pray for the liberation of true parents, pray for the liberation of the spiritual world, and pray for the liberation of the physical world. Even though we may be suffering and on the verge of death, make sure and set our intention correctly. And anyway, so yeah, 1856, plus we had 9 minutes of the other one. What else? This is video 44. Heaven at 18%. So we're getting closer. We're definitely getting closer. 10 days is 10 more percent. In 32 more days, we'll be 50% heaven. Wow. Is that true? 30? Yeah, 32 more days. And so let's build up our anticipation for great joy and excitement and celebration. Because, my goodness, when heaven is here, it will not be... There's such a struggle going on in the world of people, because people do not understand heaven. It's such a struggle. Everyone is at odds. It seems like we all feel suffering. because people do not understand heaven. That's all it is. If everyone understood heaven, you know, we wouldn't need to look at the newspapers. If it said something other than heaven, we wouldn't. Why look at it? Why would we look at it? Why would we read a book about something that wasn't heavenly? Why would we write a book about something that wasn't heavenly? Why would we do anything that wasn't heavenly? Why would we think thoughts that weren't heavenly, or consider any events that weren't heavenly, or consider people that weren't heavenly? Why would we pay any attention at all to that? And my suggestion is that since we're learning, since we're 18% of our way into heaven, that 100% is just going to be, we're just completely convinced and understand clearly that there is no such thing except heaven. Because man cannot live by any other principle. The only principle is centering on true love, and God, the love that created God and created us through God, is the only existence we are meant to understand and center upon and dwell in. It's the only place we're supposed to, that we can dwell. So that's pretty awesome. We found it. Eureka. That's matter of fact, that is the motto of California. I think the state motto is Eureka. And what does that mean? We found it. That always stuck in my mind. Now I know why. And also, that when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor, he said, "I'll be back." He was famous for that, and I said, "Hey, that's just like what Jesus said." Jesus said that. And so, anyway, thanks for being with me. Have a beautiful and most wonderful day. I really appreciate your being here and sharing this time with me. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at video 45, Heaven at 19%. Thanks again. Take care. Much love and hugs, and have a terrific interaction with all those around you. I pray for miracles coming into your life, full on, like nothing that anyone ever experienced before. Take care. Thanks so much.